People often ask me, Jim, how did you go from being a mathematician to running one of the most successful hedge funds in the world? And I always smile because the truth is a big part of it wasn't just the formulas or the algorithms. It was how I approached life and opportunity. And today, I want to share something that many people overlook, something that can literally change the trajectory of your life if you take it seriously. It's called the law of attraction. When people look at success, they often think it's all about skill or intelligence, about having the right strategy or the perfect formula. And while those things matter, I've learned over the years that they're only part of the picture. What really separates those who achieve extraordinary results from those who don't is mindset. The way you think, the way you focus, the way you orient yourself toward opportunity. I'm not talking about some abstract motivational idea. I'm talking about the very real way your mental framework shapes your life and your outcomes. Early in my career, I spent countless hours studying patterns, solving problems, and analyzing numbers. I was focused on algorithms, on mathematics, on logic. But I quickly realized that the sharpest mind in the room won't get far if it's distracted by doubt, indecision, or fear. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if your mindset is aligned with success, it's like having a race car without fuel. No matter how powerful the engine, it won't go anywhere. Mindset is more than just positive thinking. It's about cultivating a mental environment where clarity and focus dominate, where your attention is trained to recognize opportunities, and where your confidence in your abilities allows you to take the necessary actions without hesitation. I learned early on that a person who believes in their capacity to solve problems and who approaches challenges with curiosity rather than fear is far more likely to succeed than someone who has all the answers but is paralyzed by self-doubt. Your mindset dictates the quality of decisions you make every day, from the smallest choice to the most critical investment. What I found particularly fascinating is how the mind interacts with opportunity. If you enter a room or examine a situation expecting failure, your mind naturally filters out possibilities and focuses on obstacles. Conversely, if your mind is primed to recognize solutions, patterns, and potential, suddenly opportunities that seemed invisible before become apparent. It's not magic, it's simply a matter of focus. Your brain is always scanning for patterns and information that match your expectations. So the clearer your mindset, the more likely you are to see what others miss. When I was building Renaissance, it wasn't just about math or data. It was about cultivating the right mindset within my team as well. We encouraged curiosity, experimentation, and the relentless pursuit of understanding patterns in the market. We knew that the strategies we developed would only succeed if we approached them with confidence, clarity, and a belief that solutions could be found. Every breakthrough started with a mental alignment, a mindset tuned to spotting opportunities and solving problems efficiently. I also realized that mindset is contagious, so the people around you, the environment you create, and the energy you project all contribute to how your focus and perspective develop. That's why I paid so much attention to the culture we built at Renaissance. It was an environment that reinforced the idea that success starts in the mind, that your thoughts and attitudes shape the outcomes you can achieve. Surrounding yourself with people who believe in possibility, who are focused on solutions rather than limitations, amplifies your own capacity to succeed. Over the years, I've seen countless examples of highly intelligent people with incredible skills fail simply because their mindset wasn't aligned with success. They doubted themselves, focused too much on potential problems, or allowed fear to paralyze their actions. Meanwhile, others with equal or even lesser talent thrived because they approached challenges with confidence, focus, and the belief that they could navigate obstacles. Success is rarely accidental. It's cultivated from the inside out. So if you want to achieve extraordinary results, start by examining your mindset. Are you training your mind to recognize opportunities, to focus on solutions, and to approach challenges with confidence and curiosity? Or are you allowing fear, doubt, or distraction to dictate your actions? Your skills, knowledge, and strategies matter, but they are only amplified by the way you think and focus. The right mindset acts as a catalyst, transforming potential into real achievement and turning opportunity into tangible results. When people hear the term law of attraction, they often think it's some kind of mystical wish upon a star idea. They imagine that if you just want something badly enough, it will magically appear. And I'll be honest, that's not what I'm talking about. The law of attraction, at least the way I understand and apply it, is not about hoping or wishing. It's about clarity, focus, and aligning your thoughts, beliefs, and actions with the outcomes you want. It's about training your mind to recognize possibilities, to spot opportunities, and to consistently move toward them. That's the practical, real-world power of this concept. I've spent decades working with complex data, building algorithms, and analyzing markets. On the surface, it seems like everything I did was purely mathematical. But the truth is, there was a huge mental component behind it all. Every breakthrough, every insight, every strategy I developed started with the way I approached the problem in my mind. I didn't just crunch numbers. I visualized possibilities, focused on patterns, and approached challenges with the expectation that a solution existed. That mental alignment, the conscious focus on positive outcomes and possibilities, is at the core of the law of attraction. It's important to understand that this isn't passive. You don't just sit back and wait for success to appear. Instead, the law of attraction is about how you direct your energy and attention. What you consistently focus on, you start to notice more of in your environment. If your mind is trained to see problems, you'll spot obstacles everywhere. But if your mind is trained to see potential, opportunity, and solutions, suddenly the world starts offering options you might have overlooked before. It's a shift in perspective, and that shift can have a huge impact on your results. Early in my career, there were moments when an opportunity seemed risky or even impossible. Most people would have walked away, but I learned to visualize success not blindly, but strategically. I broke problems down, identified the key signals of potential, and kept my focus on those signals. My mindset was tuned to the possibilities, not the obstacles. That focus helped me make decisions that others might have dismissed. In other words, by aligning my attention and belief with outcomes I wanted to achieve, I began attracting the circumstances that made those outcomes possible. This principle doesn't just apply to investing or business. It applies to every aspect of life. The people you meet, the habits you form, the opportunities you notice. They all respond to the way you think and what you focus on. If you want growth, surround yourself with growth. If you want innovation, seek out ideas and environments that encourage creativity. Energy flows where attention goes. Your mind acts like a magnet. It draws in what you consistently focus on. Another thing I've learned is that visualization and belief have to be paired with action. You can focus on a goal and believe in it all you want, but if you don't act on it, nothing will change. The law of attraction works in conjunction with effort. By clearly defining your goals, maintaining focus on them, and consistently take steps toward them, you create the conditions where success becomes far more likely. You're not waiting for luck. You're actively aligning yourself with it. Over time, I've seen how powerful this can be. The moments when I approached a challenge with clarity, focus, and belief were always the moments where opportunities revealed themselves. The market, the environment, and the people around me responded in ways that reinforced my alignment. That's the practical side of the law of attraction. It's not about magic. It's about how your mindset shapes the actions you take and the opportunities you notice. So you want to apply this in your life. Start by examining where your attention is going. Are you focusing on problems, limitations, and obstacles? Or are you focusing on possibilities, solutions, and the outcomes you want to achieve? Align your mind with your goals, maintain clarity, and pair that focus with consistent action. That's how the law of attraction becomes a tool for real-world success, not just a theory, and how you can start attracting opportunities and results that truly matter. One of the most important lessons I've learned over the years is that what you consistently visualize and believe starts to shape your reality. This isn't some abstract motivational idea. It's a principle that I've seen play out in both investing and life again and again. Your beliefs act as a filter for how you perceive the world. When you truly believe in a possibility, your mind starts to notice signals, patterns, and opportunities that align with that belief. Conversely, if you focus on doubt or fear, you'll see obstacles everywhere and miss opportunities that were right in front of you. When I first started working on quantitative strategies, I quickly realized that the market isn't just about numbers, it's about perception and patterns. There were endless streams of data, but what separated successful decisions from failed ones was the ability to focus on the right signals. That focus came from the belief that there was an underlying order, a pattern that could be understood and leveraged. Because I believed it, my mind became tuned to notice it. I started seeing relationships and trends that others overlooked. That's the real power of belief. it changes the way you perceive the world, and in doing so, it changes the actions you take. This works in life as much as it works in investing. Think about it if you wake up every day doubting yourself, doubting your potential, or doubting the opportunities around you. Your mind naturally filters for reasons why things won't work out. You unconsciously make choices that confirm those doubts, and over time, your life reflects that mindset. On the other hand, if you focus on possibilities, if you truly believe you can achieve a goal, your mind starts to notice avenues you might have ignored. You start taking actions that align with that belief, and those actions produce results. Visualization is one of the most practical tools I've used to strengthen this process. When I'm working on a strategy, I don't just think about what could go wrong or what numbers I need to crunch. I picture the desired outcome. I consider the steps required, and I mentally rehearse the process. This isn't about ignoring risks. It's about training my mind to recognize the potential solutions, to stay focused on the path forward rather than getting lost in obstacles. Over time, this mental focus becomes a habit, and the world around you starts to reflect it. Opportunities show up, connections appear, and possibilities become tangible. Belief also influences how we interact with others. When you believe in yourself and your goals, your confidence becomes noticeable. People respond to that energy. They're more likely to trust you, collaborate with you, and open doors that might have otherwise remained closed. That's part of why mindset matters as much as skill. It shapes not just what you see, but how others perceive and respond to you. Your beliefs set the stage for how you navigate challenges, take advantage of opportunities, and build meaningful relationships. Of course, belief alone isn't enough. It must be paired with action. The law of attraction, or the principle of focused belief, doesn't replace effort or discipline. It enhances it. When you believe in a goal, your actions become more consistent, deliberate, and aligned with that vision. You start noticing small opportunities, making smarter choices, and taking steps that compound over time. The combination of belief, focus, and action is what transforms potential into real results. Over the years, I've seen countless examples of this in my own work and in the lives of others. The people who succeed aren't always the smartest or the luckiest. They are the ones whose minds are aligned with their goals, who see possibilities where others see obstacles, and who act consistently on those insights. Their belief creates a feedback loop. It shapes their perception guide, their actions, and attracts outcomes that reinforce their mindset. So, if you want to change the trajectory of your life or your career, start by examining what you truly believe. Are your beliefs aligned with the outcomes you want, or are they limiting the possibilities you see? Focus on what you want to achieve. Visualize it clearly and trust that your mind will start noticing the opportunities that bring it within reach. When belief guides your attention and actions, you're not just hoping for success, you're actively creating it. Over the years, one of the most important things I've learned is how much mental alignment influences the choices we make. It's not enough to simply want success or to have skills and knowledge. What truly matters is whether your mind is tuned to recognize opportunities and take advantage of them. When your mental focus is clear, when your attention and beliefs are aligned with your goals, you begin to make choices that naturally push you towards success. This is something I've observed in both investing and in life countless times. In the early days of building Renaissance, I noticed that having brilliant ideas wasn't enough. What mattered more was whether I approached those ideas with clarity and focus. If my mind was clouded with doubt, second-guessing, or fear, I would hesitate at critical moments and opportunities would slip away. But when my focus was sharp, when I was mentally aligned with the outcomes I wanted to achieve, decisions became almost instinctive. I could see the steps I needed to take, the patterns that mattered, and the risks that were calculated and worthwhile. That mental alignment guided my actions in a way that pure knowledge could not. This principle applies far beyond investing. Think about everyday decisions in your own life. You might have the resources, skills, or intelligence to pursue a goal, but if your mindset isn't aligned, you're likely to miss the cues that signal opportunity. Your attention might be scattered, your confidence low, or your focus drawn to obstacles instead of solutions. When that happens, even simple choices can lead you away from your goals rather than toward them. Mental alignment changes that. It helps you filter information, recognize patterns, and act decisively when it counts. I've also realized that alignment isn't something that happens by accident. It requires intentional practice and awareness. You have to regularly evaluate where your mind is focused, what beliefs are guiding your choices, and whether your attention is on the right priorities. For me, this meant constantly examining assumptions, questioning biases, and ensuring that my energy was directed toward growth and possibility, rather than fear or limitation. Over time, that conscious alignment became a habit, and it fundamentally changed the way I approached opportunities. Another key aspect of this is clarity of vision. If you're unclear about your goals or what you want to achieve, your mind can't properly align with success. You end up reacting to circumstances instead of proactively shaping them. But when you clearly define your objectives and maintain focus on them, your mind starts noticing opportunities that support those goals. This is why visualization and deliberate attention are so important. They create a framework in your mind that directs your energy and decisions in the right direction. I've seen this principle play out in countless situations. The people who consistently make successful choices are not always the smartest or most talented. They are the ones whose minds are aligned with their goals. They act decisively, notice opportunities early, and navigate challenges effectively because their mental focus is tuned to possibilities rather than distractions. Alignment amplifies skill and knowledge, turning potential into tangible results. It's also worth noting that alignment affects not just what you notice, but how you respond to what you notice. When your mind is aligned, you're more likely to respond with confidence and clarity. You're less reactive to setbacks and more proactive in seizing opportunities. This creates a positive feedback loop. Clear mental alignment leads to better decisions, which led to positive results, which in turn reinforce your alignment and focus. So if you want to improve the quality of your decisions and the results you achieve, start by examining your mental alignment. Are your focus, beliefs, and attention directed toward your goals? Are you noticing the opportunities that matter and acting on them decisively? The choices you make are powerful, but they are amplified when your mind is tuned to recognize what matters and to act in alignment with it. This is how you move from potential to performance and turn opportunity into real achievement. One of the most important things I've learned over the years is that mindset isn't just a minor factor in success, it's central to it. People often think that talent, intelligence, or strategy alone will determine outcomes, but that's only part of the picture. What really shapes the decisions you make, the risks you take, and the opportunities you notice is how your mind is aligned. When your mental focus is clear and directed toward your goals, your actions naturally follow, and the results tend to compound in your favor. This is something I've seen repeatedly, both in investing and in life, and it's a principle I take very seriously. When I started building Renaissance, I realized early on that brilliant ideas alone weren't enough. You could have the smartest strategies, the most innovative models, and the most sophisticated data analysis, but without mental alignment, even the best ideas could fail. If my mind was clouded by doubt, distraction, or indecision, I would hesitate at critical moments and miss opportunities. On the other hand, when I was fully focused, confident, and aligned with the outcomes I wanted, decisions became clear, almost instinctive. I could quickly identify patterns that mattered, act decisively, and manage risks in ways that consistently produced results. Mental alignment wasn't just helpful, it was essential. This principle extends far beyond finance. Think about your everyday life and the goals you want to achieve. You might have the skills, the resources, and even the experience to succeed, but if your focus isn't aligned, you may overlook opportunities, hesitate when action is needed, or react in ways that undermine your progress. Your attention, your beliefs, and the way you perceive the world all shape the decisions you make. Alignment helps you filter the noise, recognize patterns, and respond effectively to situations that could move you closer to your objectives. Alignment doesn't happen automatically. It requires conscious effort. You have to regularly check in with your mind, your beliefs, and your focus. Are your thoughts supporting your goals, or are they creating distractions? Are you consistently paying attention to what matters most, or are you caught up in concerns that don't move the needle? For me, this meant constantly evaluating assumptions, questioning biases, and deliberately focusing on growth and possibilities. Over time, maintaining this kind of mental alignment became a habit, and it changed the way I approached opportunities entirely. Clarity is a key part of this process. If you aren't clear about what you want to achieve, your mind can't align with success. You end up reacting to circumstances instead of proactively shaping them. But when your goals are clearly defined, when your vision is specific. Your mind begins to notice opportunities that support those goals. Visualization and deliberate focus aren't just motivational, they are practical tools for directing attention and energy in a way that makes action more effective and results more likely. I've watched this principle at work countless times. The people who consistently make successful choices aren't always the most talented or the luckiest. They are the ones whose minds are tuned to their goals. They see opportunities earlier, make decisions with confidence, and navigate challenges more effectively. Alignment amplifies intelligence and skill, turning potential into tangible achievement. It's a force multiplier that transforms preparation and effort into measurable outcome. Mental alignment also shapes how you respond to challenges. When your mind is focused, you're less reactive, more resilient, and more proactive. Setbacks don't derail you. They become signals to adjust your approach while keeping your eyes on the bigger goal. This creates a positive feedback loop. Clear focus leads to better choices, which produce favorable results, which reinforce alignment and sharpen your ability to see opportunities in the future. So if you want to improve your results in life or business, start by examining your mental alignment. Are your thoughts, focus, and beliefs directed toward your most important goals? Are you noticing the opportunities that matter and taking decisive action on them? When your mind is aligned, your choices are smarter, your actions are more consistent, and your potential for success increases dramatically. Mental alignment turns intention into action, opportunity into results, and effort into achievement. Over time, I've realized that one of the most overlooked secrets to success isn't a specific strategy or a unique formula. It's the ability to see patterns and act on them consistently. When I talk about spotting opportunities and making decisions, I'm really talking about pattern recognition. Life, business, and even the markets are full of patterns. Some are obvious and others are subtle, but the people who succeed are those who can recognize them early and respond effectively. This ability doesn't come automatically. It develops when you train your mind to notice connections, to focus on what matters, and to take action when the signals are right. In the early days of building Renaissance, I spent countless hours examining data, testing hypotheses, and observing outcomes. I learned that the numbers themselves only tell part of the story. The real edge comes from understanding the patterns beneath the numbers and anticipating how they might evolve. But it wasn't just technical skill that mattered, it was mindset. You have to cultivate a mind that's curious, attentive, and willing to question assumptions. Without that mental framework, even the clearest patterns can go unnoticed or be misinterpreted. This principle isn't limited to finance. Think about your own life. Every decision, every interaction, and every opportunity carries a pattern. Some patterns are obvious, like the predictable consequences of consistent effort or neglect. Others are subtle, like the signals from a conversation or the small trends in your industry. The key is learning to notice them, to interpret them correctly, and to act on them before others do. That's what separates people who succeed consistently from those who stumble despite talent and hard work. Another important aspect of this is clarity of focus. When your attention is scattered, patterns become harder to detect. Your mind is constantly bombarded with information, and if you don't have a clear sense of priorities, you're likely to miss the cues that matter most. Over time, I developed routines and mental frameworks that helped me stay focused on the signals that had the greatest potential impact. I trained my mind to ignore noise and pay attention to meaningful data. That's a practical application of focus, aligning your attention with outcomes that matter and filtering out distractions that dilute your effectiveness. I've also learned that recognizing patterns isn't enough on its own. You have to pair insight with decisive action. Opportunities, even when clear, rarely wait. You can identify a pattern, predict a trend, and know the optimal step to take. But if you hesitate or overthink, the moment passes. Success comes from the combination of perception and action. It's not luck, it's responsiveness. The ability to move confidently when you see a pattern is what transforms potential into results. This approach also highlights the importance of learning from experience. Every pattern you recognize, every decision you make, adds to your understanding of what works and what doesn't. That accumulated knowledge sharpens your ability to anticipate future opportunities and avoid repeated mistakes. Over time, your mental map becomes more accurate, more intuitive, and more aligned with real-world dynamics. That's how expertise develops, not by memorizing rules, but by actively engaging with patterns, testing assumptions, and learning from outcomes in life. This principle can be applied beyond career or investing. Relationships, habits, personal growth all follow patterns. When you start noticing them, You gain the ability to act strategically rather than reactively. You begin to see cause and effect in ways that give you a real edge, and you can make decisions that compound over time, creating momentum in every area of your life. So, if you want to maximize your potential, start by training your mind to see patterns. Pay attention to the details that matter, filter out distractions, and act decisively when opportunities appear. Recognize that success is often a product of alignment between perception and action, and that the more attuned you become to patterns, the more consistently you will achieve results. The ability to notice what others overlook and respond effectively is one of the most powerful advantages you can develop, and is available to anyone willing to focus, observe, and act thoughtfully. One of the things I've learned over decades of working in market and observing patterns in life is that consistency matters more than brilliance. People often chase the next big breakthrough or the perfect opportunity, thinking that success depends on a single moment of genius. But the truth is, lasting success comes from repeated, disciplined actions that align with your goals and your vision. It's about creating systems, habits, and routines that reinforce what you want to achieve, and making small, deliberate steps every day that compound over time into extraordinary results. When I first started building Renaissance, it wasn't flashy insights or dramatic moves that mattered most. It was the consistent application of strategies, the careful monitoring of data, and the willingness to refine methods continually. Over time, those small, disciplined actions added up in ways that were hard to see in the moment, but enormous in retrospect. That's the power of consistency. It allows incremental progress to accumulate and magnify, producing results that can seem almost magical when viewed from the outside. Consistency also shapes your mindset. When you show up every day with focus, curiosity, and a commitment to improvement, you reinforce confidence in your abilities. You develop the mental framework that allows you to handle complexity, adapt to challenges, and recognize opportunities that others might overlook. Habits, once established, reduce friction and decision fatigue. Your actions become almost automatic, aligned with your long-term goals, and free your mind to focus on higher-level thinking. This is how small, repeated efforts turn into substantial gains over time. This principle applies far beyond investing. In life, career, or personal growth, the people who succeed are rarely those who make a single brilliant move. They are the ones who consistently take steps toward their objectives, even when progress seems slow or incremental. You might not see the results immediately, and it can be tempting to get discouraged, but the compounding effect of disciplined effort is real. Think of it like a snowball rolling down a hill. Each small push builds momentum, and eventually the results grow exponentially. Another reason consistency is so powerful is that it builds trust, both internally and externally. When you consistently deliver, whether it's in your work, relationships, or projects, you create reliability. People notice, and over time that trust opens doors. But even more importantly, consistent actions build self-trust. You begin to trust your ability to follow through, to stay committed, and to see things through to the end. That self-trust becomes a foundation for taking bigger risks and pursuing more ambitious goals, because you know you have the discipline to handle them. Consistency also interacts with focus and alignment. When your actions are repeated in alignment with your goals, they reinforce the mindset, beliefs, and strategies that support success. You begin to notice patterns and outcomes, refine your methods, and respond proactively instead of reactively. In other words, consistent action doesn't just produce results, it creates the feedback loop that sharpens your decision-making and increases your ability to seize opportunities. I've seen countless examples of this over my career. Teams and individuals who embrace consistency outperform those who chase novelty without discipline. They develop deep insight, skill, and intuition that can't be replicated quickly. The advantage isn't in luck or genius, it's in showing up, paying attention, and making the right moves day after day, month after month. That's what builds resilience, mastery, and ultimately, extraordinary results. So if you want to achieve lasting success, focus on consistency. Align your daily actions with your long-term goals. Create habits that reinforce your vision and keep moving forward even when the results aren't immediately obvious. The small, deliberate steps you take today will accumulate into momentum tomorrow, And over time, that momentum will transform into achievements that seem far greater than the individual actions themselves. Discipline, repetition, and focus are the hidden forces behind extraordinary outcomes, and they are available to anyone willing to commit to the process. One of the most important things I've learned over the years is that momentum matters as much as strategy. People often focus entirely on planning or trying to predict the perfect moment, but in reality, the small, consistent actions you take create momentum that can carry you further than any single brilliant decision. Momentum is what turns effort into results, persistence into breakthroughs, and focus into measurable progress. It's a force that can either work for you or against you, depending on how you manage it, and understanding it is critical to long-term success. When I first began developing strategies of Renaissance, I realized that the best models and analyses were only part of the picture. What made them effective was the repeated, disciplined application of insights. Each day, each decision, each small adjustment added to a cumulative effect that magnified results over time. Momentum was created by maintaining focus, by taking consistent action, and by trusting the process even when immediate outcomes weren't obvious. That compounding effect is what allows seemingly small efforts to translate into extraordinary performance. This principle extends far beyond investing. Think about personal growth, learning, or even relationships. When you commit to daily improvement, no matter how small, you begin to create a rhythm and a forward motion that naturally builds on itself. The key is to maintain consistency and alignment with your goals. Momentum doesn't happen by accident. It requires deliberate action, focus, and the patience to allow small efforts to accumulate. Over time, that momentum can carry you past obstacles and setbacks that might have stopped you if you were relying solely on occasional bursts of effort. Momentum also interacts with focus and mindset. When you are fully engaged in your goals and take continuous action, your mind starts noticing opportunities and patterns that support forward motion. You develop intuition about what steps are likely to create progress and what actions might stall it. This awareness allows you to make better decisions faster and to sustain the energy required to push through challenges. Momentum is not just physical action, it's mental alignment, energy, and clarity, all working together to create progress. I've seen countless examples where people miss opportunities simply because they stop or hesitate at the wrong moment. They underestimate the value of continuity, thinking that success comes from sudden, dramatic breakthroughs. In reality, the compounding effect of small, consistent steps often produce results that are far more significant than any isolated action. The key is to start, to act deliberately, and to maintain that motion. Each step reinforces the next, and over time, the force of accumulated effort becomes almost unstoppable. Another important aspect of momentum is that it builds confidence. When you see consistent progress, even incremental, it reinforces the belief that your efforts are meaningful and effective. That confidence fuels further action, creating a positive feedback loop. On the other hand, when you stop acting or delay decisions, momentum stalls and confidence wanes. That's why taking consistent steps, no matter how small, is often more valuable than waiting for the perfect moment or the ideal opportunity. Momentum favors action, preparation, and persistence. Momentum also compounds in how others perceive and respond to you. When you consistently deliver, people notice. Trust, credibility, and influence grow naturally as a result of your reliability and forward motion. That, in turn, creates additional opportunities and resources that reinforce your progress. In other words, momentum doesn't just impact your own actions, it shapes your environment, your relationships, and the opportunities that come your way. So if you want to achieve extraordinary results, focus on creating momentum in your life. Take consistent, deliberate steps toward your goals, even when progress seems slow. Trust that these small actions will accumulate, reinforcing confidence, insight, and opportunity along the way. Momentum is the force that transforms effort into impact, persistence into achievement, and clarity into results. By understanding and harnessing it, you give yourself the advantage that turns everyday actions into extraordinary outcomes. One of the lessons I've learned over the years is that taking calculated risks is a crucial part of creating extraordinary results. People often think success comes from playing it safe, from avoiding mistakes, or from sticking with what's familiar. But in reality, growth, innovation, and breakthrough often require stepping outside your comfort zone and making choices that involve uncertainty. The key is not reckless risk-taking. It's about understanding the probabilities, managing the factors you can control, and acting decisively when the potential reward outweighs the potential downside. Early in my career, I faced countless moments where I could have played it safe and walked away from opportunities. There were strategies that seemed risky, investments that appeared uncertain, and paths that weren't guaranteed. Most people would have hesitated or worse, avoided taking action. But I learned to approach these situations with a mindset rooted in analysis and discipline. I evaluated the patterns, measured the potential outcomes, and made decisions based on evidence, not emotion. That's the difference between blind risk and calculated risk, the ability to act decisively when the numbers and the insights support it. Taking risks doesn't mean ignoring the potential for failure. On the contrary, it means acknowledging the risks, preparing for them, and making sure that the consequences of a misstep are manageable. By doing so, you give yourself the freedom to pursue opportunities that others might dismiss out of fear. In investing, as in life, many of the most profitable opportunities are overlooked because people are too focused on avoiding loss instead of seeking potential. Understanding how to balance risk and reward is what allows you to seize those opportunities. Another aspect of taking calculated risks is confidence in your abilities and knowledge. You need to trust that you can analyze situations, identify patterns, and respond appropriately. That doesn't mean you'll always be right, but it does mean that your decisions are informed, disciplined, and intentional. Confidence combined with preparation allows you to act when opportunities arise, instead of hesitating or second-guessing yourself. Hesitation often turns a potential advantage into a missed opportunity, which is why decisiveness is so important. I've also realized that risk-taking is closely tied to mindset. People who succeed consistently are willing to step forward even when the outcome is uncertain because they focus on possibilities rather than limitations. They analyze, plan, and act with conviction. This mindset doesn't eliminate risk, but it allows you to see potential opportunity, more clearly act in ways that maximize upside while managing downside. In other words, risk becomes a tool, not a threat. Experience plays a big role as well. Over time, taking calculated risks builds intuition and judgment. Each decision teaches you something about probabilities, human behavior, and patterns in the world. That accumulated knowledge makes your future choices smarter, allowing you to evaluate opportunities more effectively and to act with greater precision. Risk isn't something to fear, it's something to learn from, refine, and harness to create momentum and growth. The same principle applies beyond business or investing in life. Relationships, personal growth, and career advancement. Taking calculated risks often leads to the greatest breakthroughs. Opportunities rarely present themselves perfectly aligned with certainty. Growth, advancement, and meaningful achievements almost always require stepping beyond comfort zones and navigating uncertainty. By understanding risk, preparing thoughtfully, and acting decisively, you put yourself in a position to capture extraordinary outcomes that others might miss. So if you want to create remarkable results, start by embracing calculated risks. Analyze the situation, weigh the probabilities, manage the factors you can control, and take action with confidence. Don't let fear of failure hold you back, and don't wait for perfect conditions that may never come. Risk, when understood and approached intelligently, is not something to avoid. It's a critical tool that opens doors to opportunities, accelerate growth, and positions you to achieve results that would otherwise be out of reach. One of the most important lessons I've learned over the years is that success is not just about knowledge, strategy, or effort. It's about alignment. Alignment between your focus, your actions, and your goals is what transforms potential into achievement. I've seen it over and over again. People with incredible talent and intelligence fail because their actions are scattered, their focus is divided, or their intentions aren't clear. Conversely, people who may not be the most naturally gifted often achieve extraordinary results because they consistently align their mindset, energy, and actions toward a clear objective. Alignment is the invisible force that amplifies everything else. When I was building Renaissance, I quickly realized that having brilliant strategies or the best data wasn't enough. The edge came from alignment, the ability to direct every decision, every action, and every resource toward a coherent goal. If my mind was distracted or my focus was fragmented, even the best insights could be wasted. But when my focus, my team, and our strategies were all aligned, the results multiplied. Decisions flowed more easily, opportunities were recognized faster, and execution became sharper. That's the power of alignment. It turns potential into action and action into results. Alignment starts with clarity of purpose. If you don't know exactly what you're aiming for, it's impossible to direct your energy effectively. Your mind and actions will scatter in multiple directions and progress will be slow or inconsistent. But when you define a clear goal and maintain focus on it, your energy naturally flows toward that outcome. You begin to notice opportunities that others overlook, make decisions that are consistent with your objectives, and move forward with confidence. Clarity and alignment work together to create momentum that compounds over time. Another critical aspect of alignment is consistency. It's not enough to occasionally take the right actions or to focus on your goals sporadically. Alignment requires that your mindset, behaviors, and decisions are consistently oriented toward your objectives. That consistency builds habits, reinforces focus, and creates a rhythm that naturally attracts opportunities. When your actions are aligned with your goals day after day, week after week, the cumulative effect is extraordinary. Small steps compound into big results, and momentum begins to carry you forward. I've also seen that alignment impacts the people around you. When you're clear, focused, and consistent, others can sense it. Teams respond better, collaborators are more engaged, and opportunities tend to present themselves more readily. Alignment isn't just internal, it influences your environment, your relationships, and the systems you interact with. Where everything is moving in the same direction, the impact multiplies. Risk management is another area where alignment plays a crucial role. You can take calculated risks effectively only when your actions and decisions are aligned with your broader goals. Misaligned risk-taking, where actions are impulsive, reactive, or disconnected from objectives, leads to mistakes and missed opportunities. Alignment allows you to take smart, intentional risks that push you closer to your desired outcomes rather than creating unnecessary setbacks. Experience also reinforces the power of alignment. Over time, repeated alignment of focus and action strengthens intuition, improves decision-making, and increases efficiency. You start to recognize patterns more quickly, anticipate challenges before they arise, and execute strategies with greater precision. Alignment amplifies your learning, accelerates growth, and maximizes the results of every effort you put forth. Ultimately, alignment is what separates those who achieve extraordinary outcomes from those who merely work hard without reaching their potential. Knowledge, skill, and effort matter, but they are exponentially more effective when aligned with a clear purpose and consistent action. When your mind, actions, and goals move together in harmony, obstacles become manageable, opportunities become visible, and success becomes far more attainable. So, if you want to maximize your potential, start by examining your alignment. Are your goals clear? Are your actions consistent with those goals? Is your energy focused on what truly matters? When you bring clarity, consistency, and focus into alignment, you create a powerful force that transforms potential into achievement, intention into action, and effort into extraordinary results.